Shalom uvracha, welcome. Soon we'll be celebrating the holiday of Purim, and Purim, of course, is a joyous, fun holiday. And what's interesting is, of course, is that we kind of let ourselves go in a way that we don't usually experience on other holidays. And we, of course, think of Purim as a rabbinic holiday. It's not in the Torah. But I think that if we look carefully at the Megillah, we'll notice that beyond just being a rabbinic holiday, it actually has a deeper origin that may possibly explain to us why we kind of let ourselves go and we don't have the same kind of restraints that we have on other holidays. If we look carefully at the Megillah, we'll notice that there's a 4-stage process in the development of the holiday of Purim. When we look at chapter 9, which is the chapter at the very end of the Megillah when people are tired, but it has so much rich detail, the text tells us that that first year, the Jews celebrated Purim on the 13th day, on the 14th day throughout the country, and on the 15th day in Shushan, when they were able to rest from the battle. And the text makes it very clear that this was a kind of spontaneous reaction. They made it a day of joy. It always reminds me of like those beautiful films from 1948, when people heard about the state of Israel, or 1947 they heard the UN partition, and they just spontaneously started to dance and shout for joy. That's the first stage. The second stage is in verse 19. Al kein haYehudim ha'prazim hayoshvim b'arei ha'prazot osim et yom 14 lechodesh Adar simcha u'mishteh v'yom tov u'mishloach manot ish l're'ehu. This is already a couple of years later. This is telling us that a kind of organic custom arose from amongst the people to celebrate these days. And all kinds of customs arose, like mishloach manot, to send packages to their friends. Notice there's no mention of Mordechai, there's no mention of Esther. It was simply an organic, spontaneous custom that became embedded in the culture, very much like the first Thanksgivings. Before the holiday was officially sanctioned by the government, by President Lincoln, it was simply something that people did on a regular basis. But then there's a third stage. Vayichtov Mordechai et hadvarim ha'eleh, vayishlach sfarim el kol haYehudim, harekrovim v'harechokim. At this stage is already a third stage, where Mordechai wants to encourage the people to make this an annual event. This is already the leadership stepping in and trying to concretize and memorialize this holiday from being simply a local custom to being something that everyone throughout the Jewish world, krovim erechokim, those who were close, those who were far, those who felt threatened and those who felt less threatened, to recognize that we're one people and everyone should do it. What's interesting, of course, is that there's a fourth stage. It seems, as is indicated by the Gemara and Megillah and other places, not everyone was ready to accept Purim as a national holiday. And the text tells us, finally, in verse 29 of chapter 9, Vatichtov Esther HaMalka uMordechai HaYehudi et kol tokef l'kayem et igeret HaPurim hazot. At this point, Esther, with the full authority of her political power, steps in and she gives her imprimatur. And she says, L'kayem et yemei HaPurim ha'ela, that these days should be established forever and ever and ever. And eventually they become part and parcel of the Jewish calendar. It seems that Purim emerged organically that first year from a spontaneous welling up of Jewish practice. It then spread to other communities as a beautiful custom without necessarily having the force of law. And then eventually the leadership accepted this groundswell, the grassroots, and made this holiday an eternal holiday. And maybe, just maybe, because this holiday started from the ground up, from the grassroots, maybe, just maybe, it retains some of that kind of spontaneity, some of that unique kind of earthy quality that allows it to let ourselves go a little bit, and is slightly different than every other holiday in the Jewish calendar. Chag Purim Sameach to you and your families.